The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leisure Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast here. Troy Warner here, and I'm here with my little sidekick, Ella. Ella, how you going today?
Good, and yes, I'm back on the podcast.
Yes.
Very exciting.
It is. Only 2 games to tip this week.
Only 2?
Yes, only 2.
Wasn't there 4 last time?
There was, but there's only 6 teams left in this competition.
Isn't this finals?
Yes, this is week 2 of finals.
Isn't it like the semi-finals?
It is the semi-finals. It is week 2. So only the 2 games, Friday night and Saturday night, both games being played at Allianz Stadium in Sydney.
Both at the same stadium.
That's right. Now,
I've never heard you say both at the same stadium.
Well, these 2 are, and just going back to last week's results, last week you tipped 2 out of 4.
Okay, pretty good. I got half right.
Yeah, you got 50% right there. You obviously got the Panthers right, and you got the Cowboys right. You missed out on the Bulldogs and the Sharks. You tipped the Sharks. So the Sharks are playing this week. So the first game this week is the Sharks versus the Cowboys at Allianz Stadium, 7:50 p.m. on Friday night. 4th versus 5th. Now the Sharks go into this game as favourites, and I guess that's because they finished in 4th position, the Cowboys in 5th. Look, a pretty strong looking side for the Sharks. Still no Jesse Ramian named. He's named on an extended reserves bench in jumper number 22. He may come into the side later on. At the moment, Sifa Talakai is in that centre position for Jesse Ramian, just like last week. For the Cowboys, an unchanged lineup from what I can see here from last week that defeated the Newcastle Knights. So this should be a really good game. There was a little bit of talk in the news today that the Cowboys might be stranded up in Townsville because of all the flights being booked by supporters trying to get down for this game. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but I believe that JT, Jonathan Thurston, has a airline business or has a couple of planes somewhere. Maybe he might have to fly them down, but correct me if I'm wrong there, but I thought I heard he did have a couple of planes or he was just a pilot. I'm not too sure, but maybe JT might have to fly the Cowboys down, or maybe they might have to charter a private jet to get down for this game. But look, no doubt they will make it down in time. That is for sure. Now, last week, the Sharks went down 37 points to 10 to the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne. And it was their 7th finals loss in a row. So, look, a lot of pressure on halfback Nico Hines, but he says that he is up for the challenge this weekend, and this is a must-win game. They don't want to go out in straight sets like last week. Now, on the Channel 9 commentary team, you've got Paul Gallen and you've got Jonathan Thurston, that man I mentioned before. So they are having a bit of a friendly bet, I think, on social media. So if you check that one out if you follow those guys. Check them out. A friendly little wager I think there is happening between these two, so no doubt they will be in commentary on Friday night, which will be pretty interesting indeed. But the Sharks, look, they had a little bit of an up and down season this year. They are, as I said, 7th finals loss in a row. They just never were in the game against Melbourne last week. So they'll be looking to turn this around now. They'll be hoping for a big Sharks supporter following at Allianz. Now, there was talk that this game was going to be played at CommBank Stadium, but they have moved it to Allianz, a bigger venue, and just as well because of the Cowboys and their fans coming down for this game. And they do have a little bit of a Cowboy following here in Sydney as well. But the Cowboys, they defeated the Newcastle Knights last week up there in Townsville. And look, they were under a little bit of pressure because I thought that the Newcastle Knights, they really stood up. They could have won that game. I thought if Kalen Ponga had a bit more support around him, they could have went on to win that game. But the Cowboys, they scored some tries late in the second half and they came back with the victory. Look, I think the only concern for the Cowboys is they can let in a lot of points. Look, as can the Sharks at some time, but the Cowboys do have some strike weapons that can score tries. Murray Tuilagi, Valentine Holmes, Kyle Felt on the wing. He scored another try last week, and obviously Scott Drinkwater as well. But look, this will be it's a massive game for Nico Hines. He needs to lead this side around. A lot of pressure on him this weekend. Cronulla need to get this win to get that monkey off their back of finals wins. I really don't know. I think the Cowboys will be hard to beat. They just seem to have hit their straps at the right time of year. They've got that winning momentum happening. Ella, who are you going to tip out of the Sharks and Cowboys? Who do you think is most likely going to win this game?
Okay, I'm actually not sure for this one. Did I tip the Sharks or the Cowboys last time?
You tipped the Sharks last week, and they lost to the Melbourne Storm, and you got the Cowboys right last week. They beat the Newcastle Knights.
Well, I don't actually know this time.
Okay. Well,
I think that if you're saying whatever's doing better football this year, so I'm pretty sure I actually might go for the Sharks.
You're going to go for the Sharks? Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to go for the Cowboys in this one, I think.
Our first difference.
Yes.
1 out of 2
One out of 2 differences, that is for sure. So, look, I'm going to tip the Cowboys in this game. The Cowboys got the victory over the Sharks in the regular season, 30 points to 22. But also the Sharks, they've met twice this year. The Sharks smashed the Cowboys 42 points to 6. So it's 1-1 in this, 1-1 in the regular season, and now they come into the finals. I just think that the Cowboys have a bit more of that winning momentum at the moment, winning 4 out of their last 5. The Sharks, 3 out of their last 5. They were pretty good against the Sea Eagles a couple of weeks ago, leading into the semi-finals. But I'm going to tip the Cowboys in that one.
And I'm tipping the Sharks.
That's right. Now,
okay, Roosters and Sea Eagles.
That's right. That is the next game on Saturday night, the 21st of September, 7:50pm. Now, the Roosters finished the regular season in 3rd spot. They had a loss last week to the Penrith Panthers up there at the foot of the mountains. 30 points to 10 they went down. The Sea Eagles, they had a come-from-behind win against the Bulldogs, 24 points to 22 to unfortunately end their season. So, look, the Roosters, they are a little bit injury ravaged, as we know, with their halfback Sam Walker out. Also Brandon Smith as well. Victor Radley has been named in jumper number 22 on that extended bench for the Roosters. The big in for the Roosters this week is Jared Wairua-Hargreaves. JWH, he is back for what could be possibly his last game in the NRL, as with Luke Keary, who is the 5'8", Joe Suali'i as well. He's off to rugby. Joey Manu's off to rugby as well. So this could potentially be the last games for a few Roosters, but a big inclusion is Jared. I guess they sort of missed a big body last week against the Panthers with Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris for the Panthers really dominating that middle of the field, but they will welcome back Jared with open arms. That forces Spencer Leniu back to the interchange bench where he has been this season with Jared playing, starting. For Manly, well, the big question mark last week was Tom Trbojevic and that shoulder, I think it was. Now, he came through that game okay. He looked a bit rough at the start, but he came through in that second half, and he actually was one of the first runners of that cooler try. That it was a really good run, and he got the offload as well. That started that try. That momentum started that, and that got that try to Cooler, which was a sensational try, by the way, which got the Sea Eagles the victory last week. Matt Lodge for the Sea Eagles is looking forward to the big battle against JWH. This is the sort of games that he loves to play. He played not too bad last week against the Bulldogs. Hamoli Olakau'atu in that second row, that battle between him and Angus Crichton will be a big one to watch. Hamoli Olakau'atu and Viliami Kikau went at it last week. I think maybe Kikau just slightly got over the top of Olakau'atu, but look, Olakau'atu got the win. So this week against Angus Crichton, this will be a big battle as well. For this season, they have met twice this year. The Roosters got the last win with these two sides, 34 points to 30, so a lot of points scored there. And they played all the way back in March 17. The Sea Eagles got the win, 21 points to 14. Now, both of these teams obviously went to Vegas in the start of the year. So two teams that went to Vegas made the finals, the other two being the Broncos and the South Sydney Rabbitohs didn't make the finals. So two of the Vegas teams playing against each other. As I said, the first game they played this year, the Sea Eagles got the win, 21 points to 14. The Roosters return serve, they got the win, 34 points to 30. Look, the form line of both these sides is a little bit up and down. Their last 5 games, 3 wins each out of their last 5. As I mentioned, the Roosters loses to the Panthers 30 points to 10 last week. And the Bulldogs, the Sea Eagles beat the Bulldogs last week. So the form line is about the same, you could almost say. The injuries, though, for the Roosters, they are pretty crucial ones. They still have a lot of star players in their side. But the experience of Daly Cherry Evans, that'll be on show again. Luke Brooks got a win in his first ever finals game last week. So his second finals game, he'll be up for that one. And again, all eyes will be on Tommy Trbojevic at the back there. He is if he is a key component of this Manly side, if not the key component of this Manly side. So this will be an interesting game here, being played at Allianz Stadium, which is the home ground of the Roosters. Ella, who are you going to go for in this one?
Okay, I think I'm actually going to go for the Sea Eagles, even though the Roosters are third and the Sea Eagles are seventh. I'm going to go for the Sea Eagles.
Okay, yeah, they have the winning momentum at the moment, the Sea Eagles, with that win over the Bulldogs in front of 50,000 people last week at Accor Stadium. The Roosters obviously having that loss last week and against the Panthers. Look, this is going to be, I think this is the game of the weekend, to be honest. And I think I will go, look, Manly are going to be hard to beat. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I think this is going to be one of your traditional low-scoring semi-finals. And I think I will tip, I think the Roosters might just bounce back, just.
Okay, so we both tipped different teams.
That's
this
right.
Time.
That's right. So
usually we'll agree on like 1 or maybe 3, 4.
Yeah.
But now both different.
That's right. We are. So I think the Roosters may just. They showed glimpses in that game against the Panthers last week after half time that they can compete, but Manly do have that confidence of winning last week and that momentum. So this is going to be a cracker of the game. As I said, probably the pick out of the two semi-finals, both being played at Allianz Stadium. So they're the two games this weekend.
And I'm guessing you don't really need to recap the tips?
No.
If you do, I can do it this time.
Well, yeah, go for it. So
I forgot what I did for the first one.
I think you said you were going to go for the Sharks, I think.
Okay, so I did Sharks and Sea Eagles this time.
Yep.
And you did Cowboys and Roosters.
That's right. That's
very
right.
good.
And the loser of these games will be, unfortunately, eliminated out of the competition. The winner of the Sharks-Cowboys game will go on to play the Penrith Panthers in the prelim final to get the game to get into the grand final, and the winner of the Roosters and Sea Eagles will play the Melbourne Storm in that prelim to get into the grand final next weekend. But there is also some NRLW action happening this weekend as well.
So the women's team?
That's right. Yes, correct.
Game?
Yeah, the women's games, yeah.
It seems there's more.
There is. There's 5 games of those ones. We can quickly run through these ones if you want.
Okay. Are we going to tip?
We can.
Okay, we can tip.
We can quickly run through these ones. We have... This is the last. This is the last of the regular rounds before the semi-final next week, and then the grand final the week after, I think it is. So we have the Sharks and West Tigers kicking it off on Thursday, 7:45 p.m. The Tigers got the first win of their season last week. The Sharkies, they had their second loss in a row, and they slipped down to third spot on the ladder. Now, the Sharks go into this game red-hot favourites. They will want to get back into the winning ways. I'm going to tip the Sharks in this one. Who are you going to tip?
The Sharks too.
Yeah, okay, very good there. Now, Saturday, 1:30 p.m. up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, and it is a double header on Saturday at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. So if you're up there in Townsville, get yourself to Queensland Country Bank Stadium by 1:30 because that's the first game. The Dragons taking on the Broncos. The Dragons, they have had a season they would rather forget this year. They had a loss to the Tigers last week. The Broncos, they sit in second spot. They lost the first 2 rounds. They have won every game since. They are in great form. Ella, who are you going to tip in this one?
I'm going to go for the Dragons.
The Dragons, that's a big upset. That's a big upset.
I always get the upsets, don't I?
Well, you just never know what's going to happen. I'm going to tip the Broncos
Yeah,
in
you
that
never
one.
know, do you?
That's right. Rugby league is a strange game.
We might be wrong with our tips. We might be right with our tips.
Yep.
You never know.
That's
until
right.
It happens.
Rugby league is a strange game. The second part of the doubleheader at Queensland Country Bank Stadium sees the home team, the Cowboys, take on the Newcastle Knights. The Cowboys went down last week, and the Newcastle Knights had a massive win against the Gold Coast Titans and are looking to secure that fourth spot on the ladder to play finals next week, with the Eels sniffing at their heels. So, look, the Newcastle Knights are the defending premiers and favourites. Who are you going to tip in this one, Ella?
I'm going to go for the Knights this time.
Okay, yeah, smart choice. I'm going to go the Newcastle Knights in this one as well. There's a double header happening at CommBank Stadium on Sunday as well. So if you can get to CommBank Stadium by 1:30 on Sunday, the Raiders take on the Titans, two teams that haven't had a season that they would like to have. The Raiders in 8th and the Titans in 7th. So unfortunately they won't be playing finals this year, but they'll want to end the season on a high. A very interesting game this one will be. The Raiders, they have been in games and lost games by close amounts. The Gold Coast Titans unfortunately got flogged last week by the Newcastle Knights. This could be a bit of a toss of the coin one here. Ella, who are you going to go for in this one?
I'm going to go for the Raiders.
The Raiders, okay, yes.
Yep.
To finish the season off strong, I'm going to go the Gold Coast Titans in this one.
Another difference.
Yeah, I'll go the Titans in that one. And
I see Eels.
That's
in
right.
This game.
They take on the Roosters, who are now in first position on the NRLW ladder, overtaking the Sharks and Broncos. And the Eels in 5th position now. The Eels just go into this game as outsiders. The Roosters are favourites in this game. It's going to be very hard for Parramatta to beat the Roosters. Look, the Eels, they've got great defence. They've shown that this year, that their scramble defence has won them games. Many a time the opposition teams have been down their end and Parramatta have come up with try-saving tackles and also kept the opposition out. So the defence has improved this season. The Roosters, well, they are just flying at the moment. They have beaten the Cowboys 24 points to 12. A massive win against the Sharks 2 weeks ago, 40-0. So the form line for this game, the Roosters are 4 out of their last 5. The Eels are 3 out of their last 5. So 2 wins in a row. So 2 teams in form. The previous meeting last year was the Roosters 46-12 over the Eels. Ella, who are you going to tip in this one?
I'm going for the Roosters.
Okay,
Woohoo!
well, we're going to have a different one here again. I'm going to go
because of course you're going for the Eels.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go the Eels.
Your podcast is called the Para Cave Podcast.
Yes, I'll be going the Eels because, look, I think they can win.
Since you support the Eels?
Yes, well, I just think they can win, and being at CommBank Stadium, their home ground, hopefully there's a big crowd there. Conditions are expected to be good. The weather is expected to be fine. Look, they will want to try and sneak in to that 4th spot. They will know by the time they play this game if they can get into that 4th spot. So, look, I think they can, and they have been probably the most improved side of the NRLW, I think, this year, the Eels. So, hopefully they can get a win and sneak into the finals. There you go. That's the finals week 2 in the NRL.
Or normal NRL and the women's.
Yeah, so the finals week 2 in the NRL and the NRLW round number 9. So
okay, so I'm guessing this is like not our last tipping podcast, but one of the last ones.
Next week in the NRL, there'll be 2 more games to tip in the NRL, and there'll be 2 games in the NRLW to tip. So 4 games next week to talk about and tip next week, which we will do. But thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. Share it with your family and friends. Give the podcast a follow on Instagram and Facebook. That will be most appreciated as well. Ella, thank you very much for joining me once again.
You're welcome. And don't forget to follow the podcast on every single social.
Thank you very much for that shout out. I really appreciate it. And as we are recording this podcast, Ella is wearing a Paracave podcast hat.
Yes, I am. The merch. The official merch.
The official merch of the podcast, which you can purchase from myself. Just send me a message on one of these social media channels. Just $10 plus postage and handling, and we can get that one out to you. So thank you very much for wearing that. The official merch of the podcast.
I just thought I would.
Nice job.
First time I've wore it in a while.
Yep, nice job. Thank you very much for listening. I hope your team gets up for a victory. If you are a Sharks, Cowboys, Roosters or Sea Eagles fan, that should be a cracker of a weekend in rugby league in the NRL. And look, let's hope the Parramatta can get up in the NRLW. But if you are not a Eels supporter, let's hope your team in the NRLW gets up as well. Thank you very much, and go Para!
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.